Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and it's time to look at the Elimination Chamber. That's right, this Saturday, somebody is going to WrestleMania. It's not going to be me. We just got back from Las Vegas for our team trip where I got to hang out with my good pal, Terrell Furman Jr., who's on the show today, and, of course, Sal Stefanile. We are here breaking down on Betting Pros the Elimination Chamber for WWE, and it should be a very entertaining program with a lot of questions and a lot of chaos. I feel like still possibly to happen. It's a small card. We're going to run through it pretty quickly. We're going to see if there's some value potentially on some of the wagers we can make here on this Elimination Chamber. It's going to be in Toronto, in the homeland of Sal, but not close enough for him to be attending on this one. But I'm going to ask you a question, Sal, to start off. What do you find more frustrating? The Dwayne Johnson promos in 2025 where he goes from heel to face, from face to heel every 5 seconds and rambles on and on and on for 20 minutes, or the Hulk Hogan interviews where he continuously just lies about everything that we've already seen and witnessed in person and know that he's lying about. What's more frustrating to you in this era?
I think there's enough lying in the world as is. I'll take a Rock trying to steal someone's soul promo over that any day of the week.
Yes, the soul stealing of Cody Rhodes, which is on the table at Elimination Chamber because we're going to get The Rock there too. So to that point, Terrell, we all waited with bated breath to see maybe we are going to do the Cody Rock match after all. And then it just got weird. And now we're going to maybe kind of sort of have some semblance of moving forward at Elimination Chamber. And I think we have to start there because depending on whether or not, Terrell, you think that Cody is going to sell out and go heel, that basically is how you see Elimination Chamber. You have to write that story of whoever wins either being the heel to Cody saying, no, I'm not going to sell out, or it's who's going to be the face to Cody becoming the corporate champion. Do you agree, Terrell?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm very interested where things are going. We're going to talk about the betting odds in a second, but a lot of these storylines just feel like they kind of don't make sense. But it does if Cody turns heel. Like if Cody turns heel, that puts Cody and Rollins back on the table, and that gives that a legit storyline, and that gives something that's been building because they just went through this last WrestleMania, and you go a year later, and now you're buddy drinking Terramana tequila with The Rock and all of that. Like, no, that's not cool. So that reinvigorates Seth Rollins for me. But then it's like, where do all the other domino pieces fall if you go like that? What happens with Cena? A lot of people think Cena is gonna win here. Like, what happens? Does that mean that we're getting a heel Cody versus a over Cena? I don't know. It's very interesting, and I'm lost and perplexed at everything right now. But I think that's a good thing.
First of all, shame on you for popping the Rock's tequila here on the show, as if that guy doesn't get enough publicity.
Oh,
So
sorry. Yeah, not a
shame on
sponsor.
you.
Not a
Shame
sponsor.
on you. At least not yet, unless you want to make it a sponsor, Rock, in which
Hey,
case we love Terramana
I
tequila.
could be a Terramana responsible Terramana sponsor. I could be that.
Oh, we've had tequila companies in the past, and I am all for it. I would love to get the sponsor of the show to be a tequila company again. Let's start with the men's Elimination Chamber, though, because John Cena is the very heavy favorite. It doesn't feel like he's the guy that turns corporate champion at this point in his career. To make John Cena heel now is such a waste. If you were going to do that, you should have done it ages ago and seen what was in that tank. I don't think the last run of Cena is going to be that. He is the heavy favorite. He went from minus 400 about a week and change ago to minus 2,000, then minus 2,000 again a couple days ago, and now, as of recording this, minus 1,800. So there's no value on John Cena. At this stage, it's looking for other ways to go. Let's start with CM Punk, who's at plus 275 right now. Sal, the CM Punk option here is interesting because if you take a look at what CM Punk said on his return, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money. Now, he is the anti-establishment guy. The anti-establishment guy going establishment is a way you can go. CM Punk can pull anything off like that. There are some misgivings I have about that because if you go back to WrestleMania 17, when they did this with Stone Cold Steve Austin, it felt kind of flat. Like it just, the people didn't like it. They didn't want it. The anti-hero is the people's real champion, and that was always Stone Cold. And I feel like that would be a similar feel. Although, if anybody can get it over in the microphone, it would be CM Punk. Can you make a case at 275 for the Punker to win Elimination Chamber?
I think you can tell yourself a story for like 60% of the people in the elimination chamber, including Punk. And I understand Punk is the anti-hero. You kind of really enjoy him in his current iteration in the WWE right now. But it would be an interesting dynamic to see play out as Punk, like the 2025 version of the corporate champ, under the Rock's, do we say tutelage? Leadership?
I don't know what
A couple of
what we're gonna
50-year-old
call it.
guys. I'm not sure what we
Sure, I
call it.
don't know what it is, but
But as the second odds-on favorite, he presents much better value than John Cena, and I would be interested to see Cena, who basically has like no BS, which he's done up till now. He's like you mentioned, not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. If you align with The Rock, that's 100% what you're going to do. Whether you get paid in like actual dollars or just tequila case is a different story. But seeing Punk go in, winning the Elimination Chamber because he decided to be the one to take up The Rock on his offer first, is that how it would work? Like, does he go up and interrupt Cody and The Rock doing their "Will you sell your soul to me" bit? Which is a question I have for you guys later on: is what happens first in this pay per view? Is it The
Ooh.
Rock and Cody, or is it the Elimination
That's what I
Chamber?
was
I think it
thinking.
is.
That-
I think it is Rock and Cody. And to me, then it feels like Cody saying no, and then some kind of drama unfolding. I want to throw this at you, Terrell, when it comes to CM Punk too, because looking ahead on the calendar to next year, the Royal Rumble next year is in Saudi Arabia. Not a place necessarily where you expect to see CM Punk for his own private reasons, which I can certainly understand. Which means he's either champ then, or he's just not participating. Does that put more of a pressure to put him into this main event? Because if you asked me a week ago this time before the Rock stuff came up, I think the biggest match you could do was CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. I thought it at Royal Rumble. I didn't get that right. Nobody got that right pretty much. So do you think that there's sort of a time element here where if you don't pull the trigger on Punk, you might miss out on 2026?
I don't think so. I think that there's still routes for him to get there. I think that we've seen the World Championship go over at SummerSlam, and that's something that I could see for a Punk, but it really feels like the WrestleMania main event is going to be it. And so I'm looking at it now. How does Punk get there without winning the Elimination Chamber? Dog, he still has a favor to cash. He
Right.
still has a favor to cash. And
Walk me through that. So the favors
there's
of Paul
multiple
Heyman,
ways
how does
there's
that work
multiple
out?
ways that I could see that this plays out. And I kind of have it played out in two ways where one Punk wins the chamber and one Punk doesn't win the chamber. One Punk wins the chamber is I was watching TikTok as I normally do every single day. And of course, during this time of year, you start to get Elimination Chamber footage. And the clip of Shawn Michaels coming out of the sewers to super kick The Undertaker and give Chris Jericho the world championship, it played, and I was like, ooh, Roman and Seth got some serious beef after that Royal Rumble. And I could see, hey, maybe a little favor cash in. Roman comes in, gets involved in Elimination Chamber, takes out Seth. That sets up Seth and Roman at WrestleMania. And then you go ahead and you get Punk Cody, which I think would be the match. If it's not going to be a Roman Cody, it'd be Punk Cody. I would like to see that. So I could see that. Or I could just see kind of like Punk talking about how he's been talking in interviews of like, hey, I actually propose me to lose stuff a lot more than me win.
Yeah.
I would like the people to see the chase of me chasing to get to that title. So I could see Punk saying, hey, no, I don't think it's my time to win yet. And I also still have this favor to cash in. Why don't I lose this? And then we build this next 2 months going into WrestleMania on this favor that gets me into the main event, and that something else kind of happens. So I could see it playing out different ways, but I think that favor has to come in now.
You mentioned Seth Rollins, Terrell. He's at plus 2,000 right now. I don't see the pathway there. And we've done a trilogy of matches already. It just seems like a round peg, square hole to me. Do you see a case for Seth Rollins in this chamber coming out the victor? Because I think that's one of the harder sells in this point.
I didn't until Friday. Not until the Rock segment. Once the Rock segment happened and then we came back on Monday and Seth came out and approached Cody, it seems like that's probably a long-term storyline build to when Cody actually eventually does turn heel and agrees to work with The Rock and Seth Rollins coming back during that. But like, I could see them pulling the trigger on that now and saying, hey, like, we need somebody to win. We're about to have a bunch of chaos and we got to book Roman in a match. And I think that Drew and Priest are kind of going on this collision course where they're going to meet up at Mania. So, like, you're trying to get everybody booked and you're trying to figure out what's the right situation for everybody. And so it could be, hey, maybe we do have to throw Rollins into a main event. We know it's going to be a great match because Seth Rollins is an amazing performer. So I could see them saying, hey, like, all right, it's Seth's time. We're going to throw him in there. But it just feels like the Roman thing is looming over my head too much, where it feels like we're getting Seth Roman now and not waiting anymore.
Yeah, where I struggle with Sal with Seth is that we've already seen corporate sell out Seth Rollins. Like we've seen that storyline. Like I don't want to see Seth Rollins do that again. We've already done that with Triple H before, and it was good. We did it. It's good. Do you want to do that again? I think to Terrell's point, maybe flipping it around the other way is more interesting, but it just feels at this point a little. I don't know. I think there's more heat with Rollins and Roman, and I think that is more interesting a story to tell. I also think it's imperative that we have a WrestleMania finally that doesn't have Roman Reigns just once. Let's take a breather from him in the main event because look, I love Roman, dude. I supported Roman when nobody else liked
I
Roman and
don't
everybody's crapping on Roman. I thought they
know,
should have turned him
but I
heel the
still
night
don't
after
think
the
he's not a
Undertaker
main
match.
eventer. I think he's
Look,
still main. I think even though he's not quote unquote in the main event, if you tell me you have a card and you have Cena, let's go with the highest odds. Cena, Cody Rhodes on a card that is quote unquote in the main event. Jey
mhm.
Uso and Gunther, that's quote unquote the main event, and then you have Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns on a card. I don't care if you call it the main
I
event
would
night. I think that it has main event pedigree.
I would put I agree with you. I would put Roman and Seth, especially if Punk is in that as a three-way match at the top of night one. And I would also have Gunther go over, by the way, on Jey Uso and make Gunther the new killer of WWE and the new long-term champion. But Sal, do you have any case for Seth Rollins? Because again, I feel like him getting involved in this particular end of the storyline with Cody, although the Raw promo was really good and really fun, I think that's a little bit of a red herring they were just throwing out there.
Yeah, I think it's kind of too when we had the go home show of Raw and Seth Rollins was involved in the Gunther promo. It was like, oh hey, maybe Seth Rollins is going to be the one who wins WrestleMania and fights Gunther. I think there's a lot of deja vu in wrestling, and it might be like a lazy trope to think, well, yeah, Seth has done it before, but his character right now is kind of stagnant.
Yeah,
He just keeps going on and on and on about, no, I did this for you, Cody, and it's all going to go to waste if you're just going to side with The Rock. And
I
then he
did this for
becomes
Cody Rhodes. I did this for
the
The Rock.
and he has that history of being a Weasley turncoat, right? And becoming the corporate champ. Does he just do it again, but this time with The Rock? And at plus 2,000 odds, do we get a heel
Is it
Seth Rollins versus
Is it
a
him
face?
that becomes the corporate champ, or why isn't it
That's
Cody? Like, why doesn't Cody just turn heel and Rollins stays who he is?
I'll answer that. I think because then it has to then I think you want CM Punk to continue to be the anti-hero. Like that's where he lives so well. He is, I mean, the people love CM Punk. He definitely gets outside of Cody, the Jey Uso entrance. Again, I think it's more of a vibe than it is people really investing too much in Jey Uso. It's CM Punk that gets him off their seat. And I think he would be the better guy to pair with Cody in that sense than Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins will be a B choice for me. I think a far B choice. Like the A choice is clearly CM Punk. I want to get to some of the other guys here too. I don't think it's Logan Paul's turn. I'm just putting that out there. And Damian Priest, I think we've seen enough of that, especially in those main event matches. He's not quite up to snuff in those big time
Hasn't
moments.
hasn't been pinned since October. Has not been
Who?
pinned
Damian
since
Priest?
October. Yes, he has been protected. Not been pinned since October.
Well, that's fine. Well,
This would be the first
he's gonna
time.
eat a pin at
This would be
Mania
the
from
I was about to
somebody.
say this would be the first time he eats a pin since October. Like that's really good.
Well,
That's
good. Well,
really
they had
good.
to build him back up because, when you take the belt off a guy, you don't want him to just fade into oblivion. And I think he's relaxed a little bit, and I think he's found himself again. The guy that's kind of looming out there at plus 900 is fascinating to me, and it's Drew McIntyre. Now, here's why. At some point, Cody Drew McIntyre makes a lot of sense, especially why do you move Drew over to SmackDown when you did, unless you are going to feud those two guys together? Here's an interesting one. Once upon a time, the guy that was groomed to be the corporate champion, the chosen one, was Drew McIntyre. I think it would be really interesting. Maybe go back to the old music, maybe go back to some old feels there. Sal, can I sell you on Drew McIntyre being the dark horse to win this? Because if you see what they've done with the booking recently, it's built up all these main event guys and then throw a swerve at us. Could they do that again here at Elimination Chamber? First with Jey Uso at the Rumble and then again with Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, no, you don't have to sell me because I'm already there. I think there's only two people you can't make a case for winning this chamber. It's Damian Priest and Logan Paul. Drew McIntyre would be the perfect choice as the corporate champ because I think he'd be more than willing to take The Rock up on his offer and then eventually find a way to rid of himself of The Rock just to get that championship match at WrestleMania. Because we've seen Drew McIntyre; he'll tell you straight to your face he hates you. He'll stab you right in the front. He'll stab you in the back. He doesn't care. He hates the bloodline. He's not a big fan of Cody right now. All he wants is his championship belt that he lost, that he feels like he didn't rightfully lose, and he'll do anything it takes to get it back. And at plus 900 odds, I don't see why he wouldn't sprinkle a few dollars on that for Elimination Chamber. His persona is, yeah, maybe I'm the corporate champ, but I'm not the corporate stooge. Like he'll fight
Okay.
The Rock at every single battle point that there, whatever this like soul stealing plan The Rock has in mind is.
I'll ask you this, Terrell. WWE loves the big marquee. Cena Rhodes is a big WrestleMania Night 2 main event. Punk Cody
Is it
Rhodes in any
really?
circumstance is it. Look, it is not
I
maybe
think
not
that
for you and me, but for the more casual fans or the people who will turn into Peacock is like, oh, I know John Cena and Cody Rhodes. It gets a lot of eyeballs on the product, whether we like it or
if
not.
it's Cena Rhodes for real, I think that confirms for me what I already knew is that Cody is legit number 2 in the company. Like he's legit number 2 in the company. He should
All
not
right,
have to play. He should not have to play into the Cena farewell tour angle at WrestleMania here.
I don't
And
disagree. It's
because
not the one I want.
if he wins, what did you do? You beat however old John Cena, and if you lose, you just lost to a however old John. Like it's really like it. There's no real win there for Cody, and it would just
It's
solidify.
Hogan
But
Warrior all over again, which is a
Yeah,
WrestleMania
like
I
it
never
really
wanted
shouldn't.
in the first
It
place.
it really
You know,
shouldn't be that. It would solidify Cody as the B, as you know, as much as he wants to say he's number 1, and a lot of people push for him to be number 1. It would solidify for me
so
that he's
answer me
not number
this
1 if that happens.
again. Whether what we agree, but the perception out there is Cena Cody Rhodes is a marquee match. We
Yep.
know that. CM Punk Cody Rhodes is a marquee match. We already know Roman Punk, like all the combinations there. Is Drew McIntyre Cody Rhodes? I know for maybe us as wrestling fans, but do you think from a business standpoint, WWE sees that potentially as, hey, we're making new stars, we're doing this thing? Is that big enough for Night 2 WrestleMania if The Rock is also involved here and Drew McIntyre is his guy? Does that work for you? Does that move the needle, in your opinion, from the perspective of the company, Terrell?
I I think it can because I trust Drew. Drew's had an amazing year, and I think he does deserve for it to be capped off big at WrestleMania. That's why I kind of really, really wanted some type of triple threat between Drew, Seth, and Punk. It felt like that would be a great end to a year where all
Mm-hmm.
3 of those guys were feuding with each other. And so maybe, getting it is the reward. I mean, Drew would be only the second person ever to win back-to-back Elimination Chambers if he did this. The only person ever to do it was Triple H, and he did it twice. There was a 1-year gap in 2003 and 2005, but there was another time where he had back-to-back chamber wins. That's the only other person that's been able to do it back-to-back years, and that would be Drew in this spot. So if you do it, it would be for a big spotlight to go into a program with The Rock, and maybe Drew is the corporate champion that we're looking at. So I could see an angle there. I just think that I don't know. I feel like Cody wants that big marquee match, and I just can't get away with this field of choices is Punk for me.
I think putting Punk in that match makes it more appealing for the marquee. And also, to your point, Sal, you've heard it and I've heard it. Punk's talking about, I'm just here to take pins, basically, at this stage of my career. That's what I'm here to do. If Punk takes the pin, it protects Cody, right? Because Cody doesn't lose. Drew pins. There's a history there with those guys. So, in a lot of ways, you protect Cody, you take the belt off him, you make a new star, you have Drew McIntyre and The Rock on SmackDown the next week. There's a lot there that you can, and then you can run Cody Drew McIntyre through the summer into SummerSlam. I think that's pretty appealing. What do you think, Sal?
Yeah, I can. Like I said, we can make a story for 4 of these 6 guys, and just I wanted to go back to Terrell's point about like the marquee and the biggest matchup. At the end of the day, if we're just talking about dollars and cents and the biggest marquee matchup, there's a reason why John Cena is like minus 1,800 favorite. Like that is legitimately
Hmm.
the biggest match you can put on right now. Not only for like
I don't want to
hardcore,
see old John Cena in the ring
yeah, but
anymore.
No,
There's a
I
reason
don't
why
either.
wrestling is built on nostalgia.
Look,
And
Cena
there's
Logan Paul is something you could do, and Cena will be completely over. Do you want to give Logan Paul to John Cena as his final WrestleMania match? That's a question. I think it's probably better suited for somebody else. I mean, we saw the Austin Theory thing a couple years ago. That didn't quite, that rub didn't quite exactly work the way Vince McMahon hoped it would. At the end of the day, here's how I'm betting it: CM Punk plus 275, and then a sprinkle of Drew McIntyre plus 900, because there's no value on John Cena. You have to let it roll here. Do you guys agree or disagree with that strategy? Sal, what's your strategy for this one?
yeah, for me it's Cena, then Punk, and then Drew.
Well, you can't. I mean, at minus 1800, you just can't. Like, it's so out of bounds there. Terrell, what's your strategy for the men's elimination chamber?
It's just Punk for me.
Just
I
Punk.
think
Okay.
I've talked myself into a situation where we get some type of external forces here, and Punk is the benefactor.
Okay, let's switch over to the women's, and then we're going to talk about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Also, I got the bet of elimination chamber for you, and it's coming up, so don't miss out here on this one. Terrell, you were I think ahead of the curve here. You were talking about Bianca when we were talking about the Royal Rumble. I just thought they were going to pass her over this time, just because they had the tag belts. Well, they don't have the tag belts anymore. They freed her up. Liv Morgan, I can't believe that this number didn't move more in the other direction. It went from 500 to plus 450. Now that her and Raquel Rodriguez have taken the tag team championships, I think that all but eliminates Liv Morgan. It's too soon to have Alexa Bliss. That makes no sense. Bailey makes no sense. There's just nothing going on there.
Bailey and
Naomi's
Roxanne are probably going to get into a program with each other around
right.
Mania for
Exactly.
so yeah.
So to me, at this point, it's Bianca Belair. Now, it's just whether or not you think Jade Cargill comes into this match and gets involved or not, or do we wait for WrestleMania? Here's my pitch. I pitched it to Sal before the show, before you got here. What do you think of this? You don't do it in Elimination Chamber. You wait for WrestleMania. You have her come out there, and everybody thinks it's Naomi, but it turns out it's not Naomi. It's actually Bianca who did the deed. And then you have her take out Bianca, cost her the championship. That's how Rhea gets over again. And then you spurn that feud off from there. Your thoughts on that? Because otherwise, again, it's just kind of lazy booking, which is what's been going on here in the women's division for quite some time in the Triple H regime. As good as the men's stuff has been, the women's division's been lazy booking. We got Charlotte Flair. We said it. It happened. We went with Tiffy. We said it. It happened. I feel like this is where we're going with this next one here, unless we're going to make it a three-way dance and put EO involved in this one too. What do you think, Terrell?
I'd hate to throw more shade at Cena and Cody Rhodes, but if the odds are true and that happens, and the odds stay same for both chamber matches, Rhea versus Bianca is significantly a better match than Cody Rhodes and Cena. Like
From a in-ring
significantly.
standpoint, sure.
I mean, and the thing is that's really frustrating is that if Bianca does win, is I feel like they rushed it. I needed Rhea and Bianca to be something that was building over the course of a year. That it was hits there, hits there. I'm getting all excited, bubbly in the fields. I'm like, yes, yes, this is going to be a feud for the ages. And now we're at a point where I don't even know who the heel in the feud is. Is there even going to be a heel in this feud? But
Well, could be
what
Bianca if Jade returns, because then it makes her look shady and bad and all that. So again, it's just whether you want to pull the trigger on her ripping the door off the
now
elimination
you're at
chamber, or do you want to wait for Mania?
But now you're at a business standpoint of, is it even a good business decision to pull the trigger on a heel Bianca? Do you know how over Bianca Belair is?
But
Like
she's a little stale
into the
too.
minds of
I think she
kids
could use
and as a
it
role
as a
model and all of that. She is incredibly over. She's one of the top superstars, not just women, superstars overall in the entire business. Her name is on every flyer, every poster. She was all over Raw on Netflix despite sitting in the crowd. Like, I just don't know in a business standpoint if it's just the right decision. And she said it in her own interviews. I would turn heel if only it makes sense. Like, it has to make sense for everything involved. And I don't know if it makes sense. So maybe this is just all right, we're going to get the two biggest women in the business together at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. This is going to be big. It's going to be something big after WrestleMania 40 to keep the WrestleManias getting bigger, bigger, and bigger. I just don't know where the storyline is for it yet.
Well, I said to you, Sal, that when you go back and you look at the carnage of the Jade Cargill situation, that how do you selling me that Naomi's the one that did that? Like, you could tell me that Bianca's the one that did that to her, right? That she sprawled out on a car and the windshield's cracked and all this stuff. Unless Naomi hit her with a car or a golf cart or something. I don't know how this happened to her. So that's how you turn her heel. But then again, it just seems a little muddy to me. But I don't see another way out of this. It seems like Bianca, and it's a foregone conclusion. Sal, what are your thoughts? Who's your pick for Women's Elimination Chamber? Because this seems like another default one, kind of like where we were at with Royal Rumble and Charlotte Flair.
Yeah, your theory, Joe, is the answer to your question, Terrell. How do you get Bianca Belair to become a heel? And Joe laid out the entire storyline for you. And if that's the case, we have heel Bianca and face Rhea Ripley. There really is no other choice, at least from the current field that's believable anyways, than Bianca Belair. And there's a reason why she's like the heavy 425 favorite right now. Started out as 150 in a couple of days, just jump to 425. You can't really make a legitimate case for anybody else. Like, it's not going to be Naomi. Like you mentioned, Charles, Roxanne and Bailey are going to probably have their own thing. Alexa Bliss, it's too soon. Liv Morgan's going to have a tag title shot at WrestleMania.
We've seen Rhea and her a million times already. It's enough. And I like Liv.
I'm not sold on the not Naomi thing. I understand that in the thought process of it, but I could see an angle of, okay, like we've seen the Bianca Belair accidental whiplash to Naomi in a match. We've seen them not be on the same page. We've seen them constantly talk about it in every single promo. As long as one of us gets the win, that's all that matters. And they constantly say one of us. But everybody knows you really mean me. So if you're telling me, like, I just don't see like a program that kind of, like, if you make Bianca turn heel because of what she did to Jade, why is it not Bianca and Jade at Mania? How did it become Bianca and Rhea? So if it is a Bianca heel turn, what if that heel turn ultimately ends up costing her the match and we do get Bianca Jade at Mania and it's a Naomi, and Naomi finally gets the push that people really want to see her kind of get, and we know that she could take to that level. So like, I think Naomi's the only other person in this field that I could talk myself into. I couldn't really talk myself into anybody else, but it does feel like that Bianca's going to be the play, but it still doesn't make all the much sense to me. But they also book women horribly in the main roster is really bad.
I think there's an outside chance that I've been trying to talk myself into that Roxanne Perez could come away as a long shot victor. I think they've been putting like hints out on the main roster anyways. Like on NXT, she's still a heel, still considered like one of the top heels in the women's side of that division. But on the main roster, she's been like a red hot baby face in the past. She has the accolades. She was the first ever ROH Women's Champion. She was a 2-time NXT champion. And if you kind of want to just like throw something random and try to build a new star on, quote unquote, the grandest stage of them all, throwing in a red hot Roxanne Perez versus a Rhea Ripley, I think at that point, then maybe we find a way to turn Rhea as a heel and keep Roxanne as the baby face. But there's a reason why it's plus 1,600 odds for Roxanne Perez, and it's going to be kind of difficult to like buy into that storyline. But that would be the only other bet I would consider making, mainly because of the odds and this wacky story I'm trying to tell myself.
I think when all said and done, what would also be fun potentially is if you have a situation develop where maybe if Naomi does win, then Bianca takes her out too, and it becomes this weird jealous thing, and then it just continues to wreak havoc, and then you start to see this darker version of Bianca develop. That would be more interesting.
Yeah.
And we are sitting on the precipice of this weird booking where Io and Rhea have a match next Monday after Elimination Chamber. And I don't know why. It feels like a weird timing of that sort of thing.
It has to be something.
I'm hoping that there's more to this, but I agree. Naomi winning is interesting, fun, interesting long shot. Does she get to Mania? That I don't think necessarily. I don't think that happens, but I will say that it feels like the favorite. It feels like possibly that's the way things are going, where it's just another default Bianca Belair, and they're just going to figure it out. Now, the other matches on here, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, KO minus 200, Sami Zayn plus 150. Sal, this is a a rivalry that goes back for eons between these two guys. I think KO is the right side of this one. The only thing that could have this potentially being undone with a Sami victory is potentially Randy Orton returning and costing Kevin that match. So if that's the case, Sami would be the right call. What side are you on, Sami or KO?
I think it's time that KO just gets a victory of some sort.
Yeah, agreed. I feel like that too. T, you think the same thing? It's just time for Kevin Owens to get a W?
Yeah, Kevin Owens was right, by the way. Everything he said. I mean, I have no idea. Why did Sami even come out there? If you weren't going to do anything and you were just going to sit there and just watch as he gets an Alabama slam onto a ladder and is just left as a carcass, you were just going to watch and not do anything. You could have stayed in the back, honestly. So if I was Kevin, I would have did the same thing. And I think that here it's more of the storyline that they always do with Sami Zayn. I'm really not a big Sami Zayn fan, but they do the same storyline with Sami Zayn where he goes and he loses the match and he keeps losing and all of that. Then he gets to the biggest pay-per-view or the WrestleMania or whatever, and he pulls everything out of his behind and he gets the win. And it's like Sammy Hogan in the ring. Like, I think that that's ultimately where this goes. He loses the first unsanctioned match. He doesn't take that loss kindly. We get the rematch in some capacity at Mania, and that's the one that they put Sammy over at Mania yet again. So, I'm with you. I think it's KO. Although I wouldn't bet KO. I would probably bet Sami just because the plus money and the Randy Orton factor is still there, and I think Randy does make an appearance before WrestleMania, so this would seem like the best chance for him to do it. But yeah, I think it's KO.
Yeah, the better bet is Sami Zayn, but I think KO is the favorite for a reason. Last match here, it's a small card because the Elimination Chambers are long. Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus, minus 2,000 against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Now, hear me out. I want this other side. I want the Nia Jax side of this, and I'm going to tell you why. The Tiffany Stratton Charlotte Flair thing, I don't think has gotten off to a hot start. I think they need to heat it up. How better can you heat something up than have Charlotte get involved here or something with Tiffy and then having the legendary Canadian icon and hero end up eating a pin? Not going to be Tiffany eating the pin here. It's going to be, I think, Trish Stratus eating the pin. Everyone thinks Candice LeRae's there to eat the pin in this match. And yeah, that's kind of the easy way out of this, but it doesn't do anything. It's not moving anything forward. I think it's time to start inflating that ball a little bit. Sal, to me, you got to get Charlotte and Tiffany involved in something here and start to put some heat in this matchup because right now it's a little mild. I think it can get there. I think it's going to get there in the ring. I think Charlotte ultimately wins this first one, and they're going to have a series of matches from now through the summertime. But I think it's imperative we start doing something now and start putting some stakes in here. And I got to tell you, I think Trish Stratus is here to eat the pin in this match. What do you think?
I wasn't giving this match much thought until you and I talked before and how you laid out this theory for me. And the more I was thinking about it during the course of this podcast, the more I've like talked myself into it becoming a reality. Like you can easily envision a world where Charlotte Flair comes down to the ring. Her and Tiffy get into some sort of fight on the outside of the ring. Tiffy goes to follow Charlotte Flair to the backstage or whatever, leaving Trish Stratus 1-on-2 versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. And her taking the pin, because you wouldn't expect one for Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton to lose. Two, you wouldn't expect Trish Stratus to be the one taking the pin, especially in her home turf of Canada and in Toronto on top of that. And then you throw in the plus 700 odds. Like it seems like this match is just set up for misdirection, whichever way you look at it.
I think it's screaming misdirection. Terrell, I think this is the best way to make
Yep.
money on the Elimination Chamber. You with me, baby?
Yeah, I went. You guys gave Tiffy a little bit too much credit. I would not be surprised with the booking of the women's division in the main roster that Tiffany Stratton takes the pin here.
Ooh.
I would not. And it would also give us more fuel for after WrestleMania and maybe a lead up to SummerSlam of us getting the actual one-on-one match again, uninterrupted by Candice LeRae this time, because we got the one-on-one match. I was there in DC. I saw it. I saw the Candice LeRae interruption. And as soon as it happened, I said, okay, this Nia and Tiffany storyline is not over because we have not had a definitive victor in a one-on-one matchup between them. You had the cash in and you had Candice LeRae getting involved. So if you tell me that something goes on in this match and Nia gets the pin over Tiffy, and now after she has a program after Mania to continue feuding with Nia when Charlotte goes back off into the ether sphere of whatever she's doing, yeah, I can 100% see that happening. So I think you gave Tiffany a little bit too much credit. I wouldn't be surprised if she eats the pin, and that saves us something future with her and Nia reinvigorating this feud and us finally getting a definitive winner.
That works for me. Either way, we're winning money on that
Yep.
one. Plus 700. That's the way to go. What is your prediction? For those of you watching on the YouTube channel, make sure you drop your comments below. Who wins the men's elimination chamber? Who's your women's elimination chamber winner? Who do you like? KO, Sami? We want your predictions right here. So drop your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and to Betting Pros wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to ring that bell till it goes ding for notifications so you never miss a single show here on Betting Pros. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Terrell Furman and my boy Sal Stefanile, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.